Hello, welcome to The Wandering Drew. I am Drew. On today's video, what I'd like to do is I'm going to set up my ZPacks Flex solo tent, or the solo tent, and I'm going to set it up and try it out. It'll be to see how it works for me, putting my mattress pad and some gear inside, just to see how it's going to work for me going forward. This is going to be the tent that I'm going to be taking going forward. I also planned the trip in early October, and I'm going to take the Plex out with me on the solo tent, and I'm going to take it out with me onto the trail and try it for a couple of nights and see how it goes for me. So let's get to it. So for the Plex tent, or the solo tent, I need 10 stakes as opposed to the 8 I used to use for my duplex, and only 1 trekking pole as opposed to 2 for the duplex. So other than that, there's really not much change. It's still a ZPack tent, and most tents are the same. You generally lay them out, stake out the 4 corners, and then put the poles in, or in this case, the support, which is the 1 trekking pole. For the solo tent, it's recommended a 52-inch trekking pole, which is pretty much as far as my trekking pole goes. Still have an inch or 2 to spare if I need to for like sinking ground, or if the point or the tip goes into the ground, I can still, stretch it out another inch or 2. I do have a cap on the end, so it will not go in. I don't think I'll take that on the trail, but you never know. So I'm going to put the tent right here, basically, and I'm going to start setting it up, and we'll see how it goes. And like I said, you start generally with the 4 corners and then hoist it up. So I may end up speeding this up, but I'm going to set myself up so I've got 4 good stakes so I can start that way. The good thing on ZPacks tents, the door, I've already found it, obviously, and this is the bathtub. It's one of the problems I have with this one of the problems I have with this olive drab design is in bright light, or I guess if it's really dark, it's hard to tell, although this is more like a silver grayish color and green is on the top. So also another way you can tell is the ZPacks logo is in the front, and on this tent, this would be the upwind side, preferably. Okay, so just going to start out. That's it for the 4 corners. So went up pretty quick, obviously. And then I'll set up the support, or the pole. On the ZPacks tents, they always have a little pocket that they've made. It's reinforced where the handle should go in. So you want to make sure that lines up really good. And it's usually easy to find. And this one is going to have the most tension on it. So it's really important to get a good bite in the ground on this one. And you want some tension on it. So looking good so far. The rest of the stakes there's 3 across the rear and 1 on each side. So normally I would do the sides last. But what I'm trying to do is have to reposition the camera That wasn't good for me. What I'm doing now is just tightening a little bit to get a good taut line. The same thing you would want to do here is you would want to make sure that you have a good taut line or slope for the doors, because if there's rain, you want it to bead off. And if it's soft or sloppy, it's not taut, you're not going to get that beading. I'll take you around the back and show you. So here's the 3 lines, one in the middle, one toward each end. I'm going to start with the middle one first. And this gives you that nice, like I said, slope for drainage, and also you get some airflow through here, but it protects the tent, hopefully from splashing water. And then just got these 2 lines coming out, and they're a little longer actually. So this gives you a little bit more room up top, makes it bulge out. And it's pretty good for setup. So now that I've secured the 3 lines in the back, come back around to the front, and I'm going to open this up. And I'm just going to fold open these doors and secure them with the toggles. One of the things I did purchase with the tent is I did buy the magnetic clips, so I don't have to use the toggles. The toggles are okay, especially for this instance. It's not a big deal, but I do like the magnets, and I wish they would include them in the tent automatically. It's an option you have to buy. On some of the other tents in the line, they do come standard now instead of the toggles. Especially on the duplex, like the doors, they're hard to work if it's really cold or it's wet and you secured them and then you get in. It's hard to open them from the inside. But it's not impossible. The weight difference is negligible. So that's it. I have this large rainbow door, which I'm going to open. And looks good. The tent looks good. Looks good on the inside. I think there's enough room. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to get my mattress pad and put it in here along with my pack, which is pretty much empty, but just to give an idea of how much room there is in here. And then I'll get inside and lay down and try it out, show you what it's about. I usually sleep close to the door, but on the duplex you have 2 doors, so it didn't matter which side you put it on. So in this tent, I'll probably sleep near the door. It also gives you the most room up top, so you're not going to hit the tent wall, because the headroom is all geared for obviously where the pole is, which gives you the peak of the tent. So I'm going to get inside now and try it out. So let's go. Immediately upon sitting down, I have headroom. It's tight. I mean, you know, it's not as roomy as a duplex, obviously, but it's not as wide, which gives it its less weight and, of course, smaller packability in the pack. I'm just going to take my shoes off so I don't bring in dirt. And here I am inside the tent, no problem. I have headroom. I actually can reach up if I want. And I'm going to try laying down here. It's hard to see, but I'll bring the camera in here eventually. But there's ample room for gear here. I'd say this is like a 1.5 person tent. You know, not really a solo in the sense of it's only 1 person. So, and laying down in here, you can see I fit no problem. I have room on the side, probably, you know, from my shoulder to my elbow worth of room. So what is that, 1.5 feet? I'm 5'8", so I'm not really tall, but I do have room to reach up. I have room at the top of my head where I'm not going to hit the wall of the tent. I could actually move the tent. I could move my sleeping pad one way, up or down a little bit, and I have a little bit. I have it really positioned more for the bottom half, giving myself more headroom. So I usually have a pillow and a jacket, something like that in the middle of the night. If it gets cold, I can grab my stuff. But this is not bad. I'm going to bring you inside to show you, as well as I have some foot room where I'm not touching the bottom. With a quilt, though, I think it would be a little tighter on the bottom, just the way I have it set out, because I'm mostly toward the end of the tent, the bottom end. But I could easily move this up and give myself more headroom. Let me bring you inside. So here I am inside the tent, and I'm just going to lay back down so you can see how much room there is above my head when I'm laying down. So you can see the end of the mattress pad. There's enough room for me to put like a jacket or a pillow, even if it hangs over. There's also a lot of room here on the side for my gear. Down by my feet, you can see there's ample room here, as well as this whole corner for gear. And here's my pack. And you can see that there is in fact enough room for my gear here. I can put it down lower. I can put it below my feet if I want. It's not really a problem. So I think this tent is going to work for me, no problem. I know it's hard to see, but if you look here, you can see two darker patches, one here and one here. And those are two patches that I found in the tent. Those two places near the peak that I just showed you are two patches that I found on the tent that must have been done by ZPacks, which is the reason why this tent was a little bit cheaper. I saved $60 on it. I bought it in the bargain bin, and I'm assuming that that's why it was in the bargain bin. I don't know if this tent went out to a customer and came back, if the customer did it, if it happened during production, maybe by an accident, could have been, maybe someone cut open something with a razor. I'm just speculating, so I have no idea. I have no idea why this tent has those two cuts, but I'm not worried about it at all. It's repaired with DCF tape, which is impervious to water. I'm not worried about it leaking or intrusion at all. And if need be, if I really do get worried, I can always put another patch over it using the repair tape or buy a bigger patch if I really wanted to. But I have no concerns about that at all. So this tent will be staying with me, and I will in fact be using it going forward. That's it for the tent today. Really brief introduction. I set up the tent. I think it goes up fairly easy and fast. No different than most tents, and especially ZPacks tents. In terms of setting it up and securing it, I don't think there's any problem with it. It seems pretty easy and straightforward. Obviously, I had no issue with it. I think there's enough room for me and my gear in here, and I still have a vestibule out front if I need to. The downside being that you only have one of them, so hopefully you set it up good and correct for the weather conditions you're in, which way the wind is coming or not coming from, and you have at least the ability to open up one door, which will give you some airflow and some ventilation. Obviously, condensation will be an issue. I think it'll be more in here than the duplex, even because you can't open up both sides and get some ventilation. But if there's a breeze or even during colder weather, it is a smaller tent. Therefore, it's easier for you to keep it warmer, heat it up, and stay warm inside of it. So that is a plus. So the duplex may still go out, maybe during hotter weather. You may want to bring that larger tent to have a cooler, hopefully, tent, because you can open up both doors and get that airflow. But anyway, that's getting ahead of myself. So as it stands right now, I'm happy with the tent. I will be trying it out shortly. I'm going to go visit a trail and hopefully do about 4 to 5 days out hiking and camping. And I will test out the solo tent and see how it does for me. And even though I'm not camping, still, this sound always makes me feel a little sad. Unfortunately now, I have to pack up the tent, roll it back up again, and pack it away properly. So let me get to that. So I'll now take the tent down. First, what I like to do is I like to secure the door. So I like to secure the door. One, it keeps bugs out. And two, it keeps this mesh from flopping out, making it a little harder to roll it up by falling out and maybe getting caught. It keeps it in. And I also open the toggles and release the doors so that they're not all bunched up and I have a thicker part of the tent rather than another part. The only part I'm going to be careful of is this hook right here. I want to keep this outside. What I'm doing now is I'm trying to keep it safe from scratching the tent. I'm worried that that is what has damaged my mosquito netting or the bug netting on my other tent, as I've mentioned probably once or twice before. I also like to go around and take all the stakes out at once so I can count them so I know I didn't miss one. I know there's 10, so I count them up. What I'm going to do first is lower the pole so that the tent isn't really hopefully caught by the wind. If it's very windy, you got to be careful. You may not be able to do this because your tent will blow away on you. And then usually as I take each line in, I put it in the middle, except for this one. This is the one that I start with, and I do not put it inside because it has that hook on it that I'm going to use to actually tie the tent. Once I'm done, I'll wrap that around. So I'm going to start going around collecting my tents. I clean the stakes as I go around, as you saw. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Oh, a little breeze come by. Feels good. It's really hot out here. It's about 90 degrees right now. There's a little cloud. I took advantage of it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this into thirds, trying to keep the lines and the mosquito netting or bug netting inside as much. So the bathroom floor, which is the thickest part of the tent, is on the outside. And then from there, it's as simple as rolling it up, trying to avoid bringing any dirt, debris. It's really hard when you're out camping to not pick up dirt. You know, if you have a good site like this where it's clean, the grass is nice and dry, I don't have to worry about it. I mean, this site, you know, it's clean, it's not dirt, so the tent's not getting, it's not wet, so I don't have mud or dirt sticking to it or leaves sticking to it. So that's the only thing you have to worry about. You know, obviously when you're out on a campsite that's used quite often, you'll have those problems. So you can see it's pretty straightforward. You just roll it up into a roll. That's what I do. And then I'm wrapping this around it. And I'm using this little hook to secure the tent. And then it goes into a stuff sack. If it's a little big or I didn't roll very good, or you can actually just stuff it in without even rolling it up. You can just push it in like a sleeping bag. That'll work too. I like to put the stakes in here so I know I don't have them. I like to put the stakes in here so I know that I have them. Also, because the bag is see-through, I can see the tent stake bag through it, so I know I have them with me. It's one of the things I look for. If not, I will make sure that I never go camping without them. So just another visual reference. Doesn't just a routine that I've kind of picked up now over time. So apologize for the dogs next door and the dogs across the street in the park. So that's it. That's the tent. And it's all packed up, ready to go next time. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you taking time out of your day to watch the video. If you like what I'm doing, please give it a thumbs up or a like. If you're not already a subscriber, please consider it. And if you have any thoughts, comments, opinions on the gear change or tips and tricks for using the solo tent, because I'm new to it, I'm sure there's a little bit of a learning curve, but it seems pretty straightforward. I'd like to hear from you. What's your experience with using this tent and some things that you may have noticed in using it? Always glad to get some comments that are can add to the conversation. So once again, thank you for taking time out and watching it. Till we meet again.